Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Deeply Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deeply Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 484. Today is Monday, April 21st, 2025, and I'm glad you could join me today. So I had every intention of recording this weekend, but then I decided that it would just be a little bit easier if I recorded today. So right now, we're using this room in order to sleep train my daughter. And so, um, it's actually a lot easier to record on a weekday right now because I can put her in the other bedroom during her nap in order to record. Whereas, on a weekend, it's a little bit more chaotic. Um, I also ended up delaying a bit because, first off, we showed up to a party a day early and then had to play on the playground for a while. And the next day we actually had the party and we stayed the full time. Um, so so after that, then we ended up napping all the children, and so it's just like, oh, whatever, it's fine. And during that epic nap, I was able to block my shawl, so that was very exciting. Um, So I was able to finish my Holden shawl this weekend. It is a Mindy Wilkes pattern that I knit out of Nest Fiber Studio Maiden's Wish in the 70% BFL, 30% built, or 30% silk base in the Maiden's Wish colorway, which is a mega sal color. It's all like, I don't know, we might actually be close to, it's been like a decade since mega sal. um, So I was able to finish binding it off on Saturday. I was able to block it on Sunday, and it was dry this morning. So that's where we are now. Monday morning, third coffee. Not too crazy. Um, and would it be in typical fashion or whatever, I ended up blocking it fairly hard, all things considered. Um, Because, like, when it came off the needles, you're like, oh, nah, this is so small. And then you block it hard. It's like, oh, yeah, it's fine. Like, this is the whole length of my torso. So I ended up getting, um, would it be? Actually, that's interesting. I wonder where, I probably put it in a bag somewhere. So, like, Saturday was definitely the thing where I was like trying to figure out what I was gonna do exactly. I started to do like a more normal bind off, but with beads, and then realized I wasn't gonna make it to the end of the shawl, so I wrote back to, or I basically referenced the directions again, and they want to have you, um, they actually have you do like a little additional garter ridge before binding off, so I just ripped back to that garter ridge and went from there because it was the case where I was trying to bind off where the garter ridge should have been and it just wasn't quite looking right. So I wasn't able to use every last bit of scrap of yarn. But I did end up doing the picots, and I think that these are very pretty picots indeed. And I also put a bead in the center of the picots, which you can. We don't have enough we don't have enough sunshine. It is a sunny day, but it's morning, so that's the dark time. So, I ended up following um, the stretchy Pico bind off from Roomy Hill in order to do this one. And I'm quite happy with how the Picos look. It makes me wonder if I've picoed incorrectly in the past, but I just have like little beads in every one of in the center of every pico, which you can't see. Whatever. I ended up picking like a lavendery iridescent bead for it. So it's not like it's gonna be super contrasty. And they were 8-odd beads instead of 6-odd beads with a fingering weight shawl. It probably would have made more sense for that. But my 6-odd beads were whatever. Not the I didn't have 6-odd beads in like the right color, if that makes sense. It would have made sense to put on like pearl beads here, you know what I mean? So happy for coffee today. So would it be? So I ended up, instead of binding off after doing 2.5 repeats of the chart, I think I did more like 5.5 or 4.5 or something like that. But easy to tell. 5.5 repeats of the chart. So almost, or nearly ended up getting double the chart time with that one. Would it be? So very drapey. Is it my softest yarn ever? No. This is my 6-ply fingering of insanity. I don't know if it'll break in and wear a little bit nicer, but it's still decent. It's maybe just like a smidge crunchy. Um, nice long layer. What would it be? It was like this blacked out fantastic, considering that I have my wingspan in tails after it's wrapped around my neck. Um, Huzzah. So let's see. Do I have? We'll see what sort of mysterious things are floating around in my bag. A scale, some sock yarn. But with like a stretchy picot bind off, like it, there we go. So this is how much left over I had. So I had gotten into the green when I was starting to bind off, so I'll have to do like a quick weigh and figure out approximately how many leftovers I had, or skein it off and do it that way. Not sure. I was not in the mood to wait until Stash Dash for this, but we are sort of getting close to the time where I would delay on finishing things for that. Oh, I haven't even, whatever, I guess I haven't watched the latest Knit Girls episode to figure out if we're there, but I definitely have mending projects accumulating. So, would it be? So, could I have maybe, I might have been able to do like another garter ridge out of this, but I really didn't want to mess with it too much. Excuse me. So, um, I would say that this is like a perfectly fine pattern to, or would it be? It's a pattern from like 2012. And so it was written in the peak of the one shawl days, and I know now that I am, or one skein shawl days, and now I would say I feel like the minimum amount for a shawl for me is 2. As you do, as you do. So, fairly happy. Gorgeous project. Could I have done a spicier lace pattern? Maybe. Was this pretty easy and was already around? Yes. Could I have, I don't know. Yeah, because the only reason, like the primary reason why I didn't end up knitting the Aeolian was because I had to pick beads. Though I am super, I don't know. Well, while these beads are subtle, I think they are very pretty. I would say iridescent definitely matches this color pretty well because you have like a bright green and then the magenta. And that's sort of what dominates the colors of the shawl, but then there's like it's shot through with like a little bit of blue, which is why I wanted to own this colorway. So not too bad in the grand scheme of things. I do whatever, but I do have to laugh that it's been pretty much a decade after Mikasel, and here we are. So this was spun out of 2 bumps of Maiden's Wish, um, done as I spun them as a fractal, and then I ended up chain plying it when it turned out to be a ridiculous yardage. And that got me like a fingering weight 6-ply. So not too crazy there. And then this will end up sort of living in handspun scraps. Would it be for whatever I need it to be, as you do. So would it be a project that didn't take forever? Yay! Now I'm gonna have to double check Ravelry and make sure I like started it in the first place. Otherwise, yeah, whatever. It's fine. So the other project that I'm working on right now is my skinny scarf shawl thing. So the intent is for a something that was like 22.5 degrees, but it might actually be even more shallow than that. So I'm just slowly but surely adding pattern repeats here. And it's not necessarily, or would it be, like the math is okay. Um, but it's fine. So what would it be? So we have this peacock feather pattern that I have sort of alternating on either edge, and then I have a center spine where I am sort of butting off new repeats of the pattern as we go. And of course, I am in the middle of the row. So this is loose, or this is to make a matching accessory for my fireworks hat that I ended up, my fireworks hat, which I ended up doing as a part of like an SSK class last year. And then I came back later when my hand worked to knit the hat. And then since I had so much extra yarn, because my sub blend skeins were 100, at least 150 grams, I decided that I should make a matching shawl to go with my hat. And so I took a single brioche pattern and translated the chart for double brioche, figured out how in the world I was going to execute on 2 into 10 increases since that wasn't included in the instructions from the class. And then figured out how to do my 10 into 2 decreases in a way that I liked, which was probably just a decent amount of what would it be? It was just a decent amount of like swatching and that sort of thing. So that was fine. Um and it works out. I'm fairly happy with how it's turning out. I'm the odds of me ripping out and starting all over again are very low, but you sort of, I guess you have to sort of um it's a distinct possibility when you're doing your own design and making stuff up as you go. So I haven't needed to look at the chart in forever because the chart was fairly intuitive. Um, if I was to do the chart again, maybe I would have set it up so that, or would it be set it up so that it was like, um, so right now it has a section which you have a set of 3 increases, a set of 2 holding steady on stitch count, and then you have a set of 3 decreases. And so that's sort of what makes the nested feather shape. And so when one part is increasing, the other part is decreasing, and they just sort of notch in with each other. And then I'm trying to select when, or would it be? So it'd be the case where, and then I start doing an increase off my center spine when I have like my big increase and decrease row. and then I don't start the next feather until it makes sense in the pattern. So it means that it isn't growing at like a constant rate because I'm sort of waiting for the right part of the chart in order to make that, and it isn't always convenient. So it seems like I have two feathers budding off quickly, and then a long time where there's no additional feather, if that makes sense. Whatever. Sorry, I'm like sort of nose runny today. So this row is done. This is going to be the beginning of the next, um, or I have a pattern row coming up. So it isn't like, you can sort of see how there are places where it suddenly gets bigger, and that's where I start a feather, and so we're sort of right now. And then this one is also sort of like a little bulge. So the idea is that this is going to be a very narrow shawl, sort of scarfy, but still a little bit more interesting than just straight up knitting in a line. Because like I like shawls and t-shirts. Layers are good. Layers are great. Um, so that is the story there. So it's coming along nicely. I definitely have a quite a bit more to go. My balls definitely look depleted for sure. Um, but because it's not getting wide really fast at all, like it means there's like plenty of time. Or would it be? Or I'll be able to get quite a lot of length. Um, and it will be not very wide. So here's how it's looking right now. So we now have 3 feathers on one side and 2 feathers on the other, and then I'll be getting ready to have 3 feathers sort of on both sides of my center spine. But it definitely like flows fairly well. It'll also be interesting to see this blocked. Right now I have it on um like a 12-inch circular. um it was like, should I start the should I put this on my interchangeable? Probably. Well, I'll have to decide. And then where my stitch marker is actually the center spine. So right now my center spine is a little bit off because I have 2 of my 3 feathers being pretty big. But soon I'll be up to 6 simultaneous feathers on this. But it definitely took a while in order to get to that. So could this have been like a pretty cool thing to work in single brioche as well? Yeah, probably. Because I end up doing, in order to make the pattern work, I do 7 plain rows in one pattern row, whereas with a single brioche, I would do 3 plain rows and then a pattern row. So should be good. And then, like I definitely feel very justified in like my side choice. So this is absolutely gorgeous, but because it is pretty variegated and pretty contrasty, you definitely see places where it like you end up getting blotches and pools. So I am happy that I decided to do the Verrucht and Verexed as the main color, the one that has sort of the clearest chart, and the Colton Polar as the background. And so when I wear it as a shawl, you'll be able to see it'll you'll be able to see both sides. But it's definitely a very impressive knitting trick to be like boink, boink. So, um, loving working with the Wollmeise blend. Would it be glad that I was able to figure out like a good use for the yarn because it had been in my stash for a long time. Um, as you do. So, I am I'm still knitting through what I bought at the Wollmeise brick and mortar store in Pfaffenhofen on der Elm. Pfaffenhofen on der Elm. Definitely don't need to go to Germany anytime soon. Would it be also, or would like I definitely the case where like I haven't checked in on Wollmeise in quite some time because first of all, I have quite a bit of yarn and it isn't even fitting in the yarn shelf right now. Whoopsies. And then secondly, like it is the case where Claudia Wollmeise has retired and her son has taken over the business. So I've sort of missed out on like some of the changes that have happened in the business and whether or not it's um still, or would it be if they're chasing the current trends in knitting or if there's something else going on, not sure. Not too worried about it. So, with this project completed, um, with the other project well on its way, though, I don't know, I'll have to, you know, we'll see. Let's just do like a quick weigh-in, a quick weigh-in. How close am I on this shawl? Of course I have my scale ready. Maybe the scale is not going to be very happy about being on my slightly tilted folding chair. So when I started this, I had 135 of each, I believe. And so this is saying that I should sell pot. All right. So I have 133 grams at this point. So I'm actually just perfectly at the halfway point from the yarn I started with. And I will try as much as, or I will try to use as much of the yarn as possible. And then I'll finish this bad boy off with I-cord that I'll graft to the other side. So all I have to do is make sure I have enough of the Verexed um in order to do that I-cord bind off. And it may be the case where like I might have like a little bit of leftover and Colton Polar, but not too crazy. Um and then because these balls are starting to get like a little bit sloppy, I don't know if I'll try rewinding them or not. I hand wound this one and I'm pulling from the center, but we'll see. So it should be fun. And I still haven't woven in the ends on the hat. So this project will probably be my carry around for a while. Um, because it is fairly compact. It's just obnoxious sometimes. Um, so depending on the row, like it'd be the case where the increases that I do require a little bit of cabling in order to execute on them, and then the decreases that I do involve me composing the stitches. So there is even like a little bit of a cable in that one as well. So would it be instead of keeping my life simple and knitting five together. At this point, I'm just committed to it, so even if it isn't actually making any difference, I don't want to change now. But those rows are annoying. So on one side, like I'm doing like the knit five together after sort of composing the stitches. The other side, I knit four together and slip one, knit four together and pass the slip stitch over in order to create sort of a nice look. But it does mean that I have quite a few needles floating around trying to execute on it. So those were Zora notches, so it's good that we were able to chat before I started one. And now that I'm getting more repeats, like it's definitely a little bit more fiddly in order to do that row now. Oh, whatever. Like even the 2 into 6 increases you need the cable needle for, so oh well. And then I don't, yeah. Yeah, and then I'm doing composed decreases on the feather closure rows, so those ones definitely, those ones are ones that require 2 cable needles. The the 10 into 2 decrease just needs 1. So, whatever. It looks good. It's fine. So, in a surprise move, though perhaps not, or would it be? Speaking of peer pressure. So, last time I shared with you some yarn I ended up picking up at Knit with Attitude because my San Francisco knitting group decided that we were going to knit the rocket tee together. And apparently I didn't think about having yarn in my stash in order to knit said rocket tee. And now upon further thought and review, whatever, it's fine. There's probably yarn in the stash. I could have just knit it with stash yarn. But apparently they were chitter chattering about all this stuff while I was in yarn stores, so um oh my god. Oh my gosh. So is this like super duper contrasty? Well, probably the natural tide versus the other one. So the blue yarn is Hillesvorg. Oh, now I'm forgetting. Oh, so the blue one is Hillesvorg Solier. The mini rainbow is gold number 4. Um, so Danish and Norwegian yarn. The gold is 75% Falkland Merino, 25% Gotland, and the Hillesvorg Soleil is 100% pelt wool, so it's like a gray Norwegian wool. Is it the nice, like, is it the softest stuff ever? um, but I'd be wearing a tank top under no matter what. But the gold, oh, that's so nice. And that was really funny because I was actually knitting with the gold for the first time while watching like a back episode of Skein and she was talking about it. It's like whatever. That's what I get for planning those visits based on like her LYSs, so it's fine. But is this not super duper darling? Um, so this is gonna be my plan. Um, the only things that I need to actually decide on right now. So right now as it stands, um, my row gauge is tighter than pattern. My stitch gauge is a little bit looser than pattern. Normally I wouldn't worry too much about it, but I don't know, it's probably fine. Um, do I even want to knit the rocket tee? Well, why do I say that right now? So like the Dingle Dell or Dingy Dell, which is a contiguous construction tee. Rocket is a raglan construction tee. I already own Pimentone, which I apparently intend to knit 3 more times. Which is a contiguous construction sleeve with some garter details and color blocks. Um, it was like, am I just knitting a tee? And if I'm knitting a tee, would I just knit a tee pattern I already own that I like? But I was trying to match gauge for Rocket, for which I'm a little bit off, and then also slightly disturbed because I'm doing this swatch on 3mm needles. The pattern called for fives. I'm still loose. I'm like, do I tend to be a little bit of a looser knitter? Yes. But though this, like, these are woolly wools, or I don't know, this doesn't feel like this is nice. But all of them, or both of them, are woolen spun, so I'm not anticipating like a huge gauge change with this because I'm not knitting with slippery yarn. Um, so so do I want to be closer to gauge? Do I just pick a size, whatever, pick like the smidge smaller size and know that it'll end up working out to be a bit more ease? Not sure. Probably gonna pick an upper bust size that makes sense. Um, would it be pattern recommends like 6 inches positive ease, so will the raglan end up maybe being a more closed armhole? Probably, and that could be good. Am I even going to pay attention to the striping pattern that Tanis has specified? Maybe not. But I know, this is so good. So perfect. So what I have right now is a little bit of garter at the beginning, and then I have 10 rows of the navy, 10 rows rainbow, and then 10 rows of that. I'm really happy with the yarn I selected. Um, was I contemplating if I needed to do like a little bit more swatching? Maybe. But like I'm supposed to be getting like 6 inches to inch, and it's more like 5 3/4, 5.5. So, and that can add up. Um, but it was definitely a case where it felt like when I was knitting with the gold, because the gold is a light fingering, so it's 650 meters per 100 grams, whereas the Solier, maybe a little bit denser, um, was like 300 something, like 375. I don't know. We have the tags. We can look. Yeah, 350 meters. So these are the choices that I need to make before I can begin. Um, but it'd be so nice, so nice. Um, the side effect of this was that I was like, in this bag I also have all the yarn to make the Go-Go Dynamo, for which I already own the pattern, and I'm probably gonna start after I finish the shawl. Um, but I do wanna see this one. So that's my only conundrum right now is my knitting group is knitting t-shirts in preparation for our cold foggy summer. Will I knit the same one? We'll find out later. We'll find out. But what is it like? So like looking, so like Dingy Dell, Rocket, and Pimentone. Like between those three patterns, that'll be what I end up picking. Um, two of those are intended to be stripes. Um, the other one is color block, but I could totally just knit that as stripes as well. And it would probably be quite lovely. So I just have to make a choice on what exactly it is that I want to do. I do also really like I do really like the color change as or would it be whatever. It's just so perfect. It was like the or would it be the only problem with doing two row stripes is that it is a lot of ends and it's far enough away that it's not worth carrying and it's enough yarn you don't want to carry it. So it's going to be a lot of ends. That's the only problem. But or what is it? But I also like the in the little bit of garter as well, so I don't know if I'll just go rogue. I'll have to I'll have to check the gauge for Pimentone and figure out if that's in the ballpark as well. Though the Pimentone is intended for linen, so whatever. I may need to pull it out and lay it on a t-shirt and see how I feel. um Whatever. But it would be the case where am I in a mode where I want to do a bunch of sweaters right now? Maybe. I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm like thinking about recent whatever. Like I haven't even bothered to actually squeeze my Bay Area yarn crawl plus London vacation yarn into the stash right now. So there's that. It was like, is it gonna end up on top of the shelf? Maybe. We'll see how it goes. It's like it's gonna be a little bit before we'll be having someone come out and stay. Might even be until like June, so whatever. We'll get it worked out. So we'll see what I decide. I think I'll check the gauges of the other patterns, and figure out whether or not one of them works better or not. But it should be fun. So I will probably start working on that fairly soon. But because it's going to be like so many skeins, it's going to be like a little bit less transportable, at least for a while. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. And then, or would it be like I have dreams of like I-cord trim and rainbow? That whatever. That one I would carry the yarn in the I-cord for sure. But as you know. So that's where my mind's at right now is when I finish my double brioche shawl, I'm gonna start Go Dynamo. I'm gonna cast on for a t-shirt pretty soon. Just depends on how chill my day is. We'll go from there. Um excuse me. So in other news, I did spin this. So I am moving again on this spinning project. What I've concluded is that you'll see that my drive band isn't on here right now. So what I've concluded is if I have my spinning wheel where I hang out in the evening, I'm more likely to use it, as you do. Um, Did it take until last night to finally do it after putting it out 2 weeks ago? Sure. But some is better than none. And if I'm whatever, if I really want to be able to fit more stuff onto my shelf, then fiber is the perfect candidate in order to debulk the stash. So I should finish this sweater spin. Um, so these are the blue is Shetland that I ended up dyeing. I think it was Shetland. It was a part of yarn school. The greens are Hello Yarn that I ended up buying at yarn school. And then the brown shades in this are a Woolery mixed BFL that I added for a little bit of modeling. And then this has some mohair locks in it for a little bit of brightness and texture on occasion. So the goal is a 5-ply worsted weight yarn. We'll see what happens. And I am spinning the fourth of 5 bobbins, or the fourth of 5 plies, but I've whatever. This is the one which I've taken my lengths of yarn from the drum carder and then split them in half. So there should be sort of a variety of color mixing. It's all going to be pretty earthy. Um, like this feels like Planet Earth yarn. So, whatever piece I was originally spinning on has been mixed in with the bag, so we just whacked one in. And we'll see how things go from there. I'm sure it'll be fine. But spinning again. I'll have to add it back into the tags. um, and then the final thing that I wanted to cover was so I did get my prize skein for doing the blackout in the Bay Area yarn crawl, for which I will never do again. First off, because it took like pretty much the whole week in order to visit all the places in between the daycare hours. And would it be? And it was like a lot of gas. So, was getting the blackout skein worth it? I don't know. But I have another 50 grams of this, so I'll have 75 total grams. And so it's just a matter of figuring out what I would like to do with this. And honestly, actually, what I'm thinking of right now, I'll have to double check the pattern, but I'm wondering if I want to throw this into my Go-Go Dynamo as a part of the mohair dare. Because I think that this would look quite lovely. I think it does look quite lovely, all things considered. Be like, ah. So, we'll see. I'm trying to pull up the gray too. Be like, boop, boop, boop. Where are you, gray? I think it'd be fun. I think, yeah, because I think having like a little bit of hand-dyed interest would be pretty cool. And I don't know if it's a carry with or whatever, but I think it's fun. So I'll have to see how much yardage are required, because I have um probably 400 yards. I also got a skein of, or I got the little ant skein, um, which was more of like teal to go with it as well. So it just depends on how I'm feeling. So we'll see. Because my other quantities of that are whatever. Or I think I've gotten more of like shawl quantities of like fluff stuff. Yeah. Also, this is interesting because it is so this is an 80/20 brush superwash extra fine merino and nylon. So this is merino fluff, which is very fun, and then I believe it just has like a nylon core. Um could I make this yarn myself? I don't know, maybe. It's cool. Um we'll see. we'll see what I end up deciding. Um, but I am amused that it's like Blackout Achievement Award. Ah, and it was specially wrapped for me. So keeping things simple, I suppose. Um, but would be so I'll probably end up just grabbing that bag and sliding it in. Um, but it may be the case where it ends up getting used actually fairly quickly because like I'm really liking that plan because I think it's gonna add a lot of fun to the shawl. Because I was originally going to get the handspun in, for which I feel like since I was swatching with this part of it, and this is actually my least favorite part of the skein, even though it's more blue. Maybe it could have. Maybe it could have worked, but it's okay. Now, like this is an ample shawl. I'm happy. Whatever, it's fine. It's fine. So, should be good. Um, and then it is the case where did I buy sweater quantities without plans? Maybe. Am I just going to be knitting a whole or trying to find a way to make a whole bunch of summer garments because I'm going to be in the heat for extra long this year? I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. So, I hope it wasn't too bad to get a delay on the episode. I did want to share my finished object. Um and figured I didn't want to share it 2 more weeks in the future when it was pretty much there. It'll be entertaining to see what I ended up deciding for my sweater, but I'll me talking through it on the podcast is a part of the decision process, and then I'll talk with it for my San Francisco knitters tonight, and then we'll find out where we go. We have a separate text thread now, so as you do. Um, so we'll see what I end up deciding, but it shouldn't be too crazy. Um, and then would it be like my gradual return to work is going to be ending surprisingly soon. So by the time I talk to you guys again, I will be back to work full time again. So whatever. I get to have a very lovely Friday with my mentor. He's actually coming out to visit with his wife. So I'll still have some fun, but it's definitely not as freewheeling as my full leave. Um, and wow, is everyone excited to see me again? I've made my peace. It's fine. But so, what else? Anything else? Um, yeah, so should be good. I feel like I have some pretty good plans at this point. So, should be fun. And yeah, so I will be recording again in 2 weeks. Don't anticipate any changes at this time. Um, and with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. So, take care, guys. Bye bye.